Okay, welcome on in. I would like to apologize for. Oh dear. I appear to be. Let me fix the properties on this microphone. Okay. That should be better, yes? Sorry, Yvonne. I had that set up for my microphone. I'm away from home right now. I had that set up for my desktop microphone, which is much more sensitive. Some homemade essay video with PowerPoint presentation. Not precisely. This is Socratic Wednesday. Uh, it's like Socratic Sunday, but I do just chatting streams, discuss various topics. Um, and yes, I realized that I was in the wrong category. I apologize. Uh, I ordinarily do Socratic Sunday and just, pick a topic, go over various ideas from that, take suggestions from chat. But ordinarily I do that on Sunday. Today is Wednesday, because this past Sunday I was very tired and wanted to go ahead and keep playing Cry of Fear. So today I have gone with doing Socratic Sunday during the week, partially because I didn't do it Sunday, and partially because I just got back from a medical treatment that involved running half a gram of ketamine into my body. So I am still a little stoned, and generally, uh, kind of relaxed. Looking to talk about various topics. How does it feel currently? I feel pretty normal. I'm aware that my brain is functioning a little slower, and I am aware that my eyes are not adjusting quite as fast as normal. Like when I shift my eyes from one thing to another, the focus is a little bit slower to come along. But otherwise, I feel fairly normal. How it feels when they're actually running the ketamine into me, is sort of a warm feeling, and then for me at least, I tend to sort of uh, fall into sleep. Some people have hallucinations, some people have various other things. Usually visual hallucinations. It does disconnect your binocular vision, so like your ability to look at and perceive depth is messed with because you're seeing out of both eyes separately instead of both eyes together, which gives you kind of double vision of people and objects while it's in you. But once it clears out, it goes back to normal pretty quick. I'm within the 24-hour period where I'm not supposed to. Cool? Question mark. Yeah, fair. It's not like I know that ketamine is sometimes used recreationally as a party drug. I don't have the effects that the party drug people have. Like people who are doing it for fun. I don't have that kind of effect. Uh, but by and large, it's not too bad as far as side effects go, and it is one of the only things that helps with the pain from my leg. So this is my second treatment of three. People who do it for fun should go to the next stage and use Big H. No. As someone who ran as an EMT when the heroin epidemic was in full swing, don't do that shit. I mean, I'm not your parent. Do what you want, but don't do that shit. Yeah, I know it's a joke. Um, but no, I appreciated that when I was an EMT, I was doing it during the heroin crisis rather than the methamphetamine crisis. Because like a meth head will try and knife you for coming to help them. Someone who is overdosing on heroin is pretty much just unconscious. Uh, which is difficult to get them back from, but they're not combative. Did I have a code for OD? Not really. We would just call it in as that. And I was rarely the one on the radio to dispatch. That was usually one individual in our unit coordinating that, and I was new enough that I was generally one of the like boots on the ground, like carrying bags and helping people. No, we did have a place locally that we referred to as the Heroin Hotel because one of the people working there was dealing, and uh, very frequently we would get called to that hotel for overdoses on heroin in a bunch of rooms. I don't know how many doors in that hotel we personally kicked down, but it was more than a few. A drug problem in your town that you're not too happy about? That's fair. What's the drug of choice? Hopefully not crocodile. That stuff is very nasty. Not crocodile, yet good, because that stuff, ugh. Now, fortunately, that never made its way to where I was working. It made its way to Arizona at some point. Probably some powder and graffiti on the streets. I mean, I'm not enormously worried about graffiti, but I mean, cocaine is good business pretty much everywhere. Someone graffitied your school? That sucks. Most of the graffiti in my area is gangs marking their territory. That's unforgiving. Or I think you're going for unforgivable. But yeah, fortunately, the drug problems in my area were not something I had to worry about as far as people, acting up over it. It was mostly uh, all pretty contained just because it was heroin. Meant that people were, collapsing and ODing, which was terrible, but they were largely doing it behind closed doors. There's obviously always a little uptick in like theft for people who are addicted and looking to make enough money to score, but fortunately it wasn't a huge problem in my area. What's the period of heroin bloom? 90 to 20? So kind of. It goes back as far as the 70s, but uh, it kind of depends on where you are. Afghanistan's been putting it out for many years, like back to, I'll put a reference in the chat. But if you've not heard of the Opium Wars in China, Britain fought two separate wars uh, in order to continue dealing drugs to the Chinese population because it weakened the Chinese government's over control over their populace. Uh, Britain literally went to war to continue dealing drugs twice. 70 was more like LSD. So yes, LSD is derived from a fungal variant, but there was also a lot of heroin coming out of Afghanistan. Um, and in the 80s, a lot of that flowed into Russia because Russia was who was in Afghanistan at that point. And then it started flowing into the US following the US invasion post 2000. But there was always some of it coming in. Afghanistan just happens to be like the correct climate to grow poppy flowers. So there is a long history of people invading Afghanistan, taking a bunch of heroin, and then losing and leaving. Uh, Afghanistan is not called the graveyard of empires for no reason. Never heard of the Opium Wars? Okay, yeah. It's not one that they teach a ton in schools, but yeah, Britain had a whole lot of time. They spent time, money, manpower, and lives that they spent in order to. Oh, the wars in Afghanistan. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so okay. I'd have to find a like conclusive list, but it goes back even before the Romans. Give me 1 second here. So let's see. Uh, there was Britain, Rome, the Soviet Union, and the U.S. There are several other factors, but basically the gist of it is that anytime a foreign power invaded Afghanistan, they would retreat to cave systems in the mountains, start running guerrilla warfare, and outlast the invaders traditionally, which they've done time and time again. The Romans overextended themselves, the British overextended themselves, the Soviet Union overextended themselves, and then the U.S. did the same, and were on the ground at war for 20 years for like no real gain. There was an improvement in women and girls being educated in that time period, which has unfortunately been rolled back since the Taliban took over the country. But besides that, the U.S. went to war for 20 years for basically nothing. The excuse was 9/11, but if we cared about who had perpetrated 9/11, we would have invaded Saudi Arabia, not Iraq. Sounds fun? Yeah, U.S. foreign policy is a whole thing. Short version, we're not very good at it. I think genuinely the only good thing to come out of the conflict in Afghanistan, kind of the same, yeah. Yeah, the U.S. and Russia are both imperialist powers who frequently fuck up badly. But yeah, by and large, this point it's like a circus. Yeah, it's I really wish that we could run our circuses without killing innocent people in foreign countries. Is the short version of my response on that one. Like I don't disagree that they act like clowns in terms of what they're doing, but yeah, if they could, finish up their show without hurting innocent people, that would be great. No, I don't know if you saw any news, but for some reason, the President of the United States was walking around on the roof of the White House yesterday, like holding a press conference, but not with a microphone, so he was literally just yelling down at reporters because he's an like 80-year-old man who clearly has dementia, and it's it's not good. The worst thing is that having dementia is not like one of his worst qualities. Sounds like the Kanye West move. Oh Jesus, yeah, it's not a good look. Trump also has dementia. Okay, that is not confirmed. However, if you listen to the man talk, and you know that his father had dementia, which can be passed down genetically, like the precursors for that are sort of at an epigenetic level, um, it is very likely that he's experiencing, at minimum, some of the early stages of dementia. If you listen to his speeches in 2016 and his speeches in 2024, like you can tell, like it was always kind of a word salad. He would just kind of throw shit in there, but he was considerably more coherent 9 years ago than he was on the 2024 campaign trail. And it has not improved since he got in office. By and large, he is being used as a puppet or figurehead by the Heritage Foundation, who are the authors of Project 2025, trying to enforce a Christian fascist state on the US, which is not great. Really wishing we could skip that part. Um, Kind of feeling like 1930s Germany around here. We have a lot of innocent people getting thrown into concentration camps, which I'd really prefer if they were not doing. They specifically made a camp surrounded by fucking alligators that they went best time to become an adult. Honestly, I really wonder for kids that are like hitting. I have a couple of friends that are close to your age. One's 19, the other's 20. Um, or just turned 21. And so they grew up with Obama as president. Like they grew up in the later Bush years, and then Obama's presidency was their younger life. By the time they were politically aware, it was the 2016 election, Trump's presidency, Biden's presidency, and now Trump's second presidency. I don't know what the fuck normal looks like to them because I grew up in the late Clinton years and then watched Bush fuck up my country and several other countries while he was at it. Watched Obama really sort of restore some respect to the office of the US presidency, and then watched Trump shit all over that. Watched Biden try and pick up the pieces, and then watched Trump come in and shit all over it again while trying to become an authoritarian fascist, which is not great for anybody who's studied history. You've seen what? Yeah, that's a fair point. I shouldn't complain too much about my president given what you're dealing with. You've seen one president throughout your life, yeah. I think I was born prior to Putin becoming president. Um, oh, that's right. In 2012, they elected another guy, but it was sort of kind of clearly Putin running things behind the scenes. But yeah, Trump would very much like to be Putin. Yeah, 97. That sounds about right. Um, hold on, the internet can tell me this. But Trump is Mussolini. He's not competent enough to be Hitler. He aspires to be as evil as Hitler, but he's not smart enough to do that. 2000. He became president of Russia in May of 2000. Brezhnev before him, yeah. I mean, I remember Yeltsin way back in the day, but that was a ways back. Oh, hey, Nusrat, how's it going? Yeah, sorry, I had every intention of getting on around 5:30, and then my ketamine treatment ran a little long, and by the time I got home, it was already like 6:30, and I finally got on a little after 7. So, I do apologize for being late, but am I allowed to drive? Not currently. So, it's within 24 hours of the ketamine treatment, I'm not supposed to drive. My mother was kind enough to drive me up and back today. So, currently, I am not supposed to be driving, and I'm just sitting in my parents' house, which is why the audio quality is a little different. I'm not using my good microphone. I'm just traveling with my laptop. But yeah, Ivan, I was born after Gorbachev was president. But I think I was born while Yeltsin was still in office. And then Brezhnev and then Putin in 2000. Am I able to drive with my leg? So yes. My car is automatic. I would have trouble driving stick. I have driven stick on the old tractors I drive for my job at the farm. And I can handle that, but I don't do it for super long. And because of the way the tractors work, it's not too bad. Gorbachev, the one who made the USSR into Russia, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, yeah, more or less. But yeah, I drive an automatic, not a stick shift. But yes, I can drive with my leg. Because it's my left leg, so I'm using the right one for the pedals. And I mean, worst case scenario, they do make cars, like assists that you can use just your hands to drive. Uh, Not that I would prefer to do that, but it is a thing that you can do. My grandmother, who had real problems with her legs, she had significant muscular dystrophy. Sounds expensive? Less than you'd think, but not inexpensive. It's not terrible. Um, it's generally just a couple of attachments that you can make to put on the gas and brake so that your hand can do it instead of your foot needing to. On older vehicles, it was a manual system. I don't know how they do it on newer vehicles, but I suspect it's actually easier because the gear shift and the steering and the uh, gas and brake are all electronic rather than mechanically attached. So theoretically, that should be easier now than before, but I don't know. No, she definitely paid a premium for her vehicles later in life, just because she got diagnosed in her 40s with muscular dystrophy, and so she was on crutches for a number of years when she was still a school teacher, and eventually moved to being in like a scooter all the time. It was funny. As a kid, she would always say, "Get out of the way," or um, she said, "I'll run over your toes if you don't move." And finally, once I was an adult working at the fire department, I had steel-toed boots. And one day she said, "You better move. I might run over your toes." And I just said, "Go for it." So she did. It didn't hurt either of us. It was just fine because steel-toed boots were great. But definitely, she had a number of modifications to her day-to-day life due to that. And her vehicles were one of them, both the hand controls for driving and the ramp to get the scooter in and out of her vehicle. How's the podcast thing going? So I have the first one. I need to edit it down a little bit. It's not a significant amount of work, but I need to just touch it up. Um, and then our second podcast, we're trying to find a date to get together for, because this week with my ketamine and them both working, we couldn't get together. So we're hoping to do the next podcast soon. Long time with no updates. Yeah. The idea is gonna be basically to the newest podcast that we're gonna do is going to be they showed me the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, which made me feel very old. And we watched three more episodes of The Expanse, so we'll be talking about those on that podcast, and then hopefully watching another movie, finishing up season one of The Expanse, and then hopefully after that point they'll have their VTuber models done so that we can start the React channel up at that point. But that's kind of a question for them in the sense that I have no idea or control over how their models are going. Because I have no artistic talent and they have a bunch, so I'm just waiting on them for that one. Right now, the trick is just getting our schedules to line up so we can all be in the same place together for long enough to watch stuff and record stuff. Going to be on a different channel or platform? Yes. So it's going to be on a different channel. The channel's called Get Cultured Reacts. We may end up changing that, but we're gonna figure it out by the time we post the first thing. and then I'll add probably a link in my videos after that point to just like check out my other channel at, and then a link to it. So hopefully that will be up and running in the next 3 weeks to a month. But we shall see. That's gonna largely depend on them getting their models done and hopefully us getting a good space to film in. Definitely looking forward to having that ability. In 4 days, 4 days from your paycheck and buying an acoustic guitar, that's cool. I wish that I had musical talent, and I do not, and I have considered putting the effort into getting some, or getting some musical skill, I suppose. And I'm just like, I have other hobbies, and I just can't bring myself to pick up an instrument because I don't know that I would practice it. Like I'm more focused on practicing my language skills and hopefully getting some voice acting work off the ground. What kind of movies or shows will we be discussing? So we have a list. So the way that this started was we, a couple years ago, realized that they hadn't watched. Yes, I would like to get into some voice acting. We realized a couple years ago that they had not watched a lot of very popular movies or TV shows. So we put together a list, and it's a Google Doc that is several pages long of movies and TV shows that we all want each other to see, and they put together some on theirs that I haven't seen. But right now we're watching The Expanse for one of the TV shows. I'm probably going to show them season 1 of Fallout on Amazon. Because season 2 is coming out in December, so we're hoping to get, both of those coming out sort of close to each other. Uh, and then the first movie we watched was Sinners, second was K-pop Demon Hunters. I can read the first few I've got on there. Uh, Probably, if I can find the file. Damn it, me, where did I put the file? There it is. So I've got like Prey from 2022, Red from 2008, The Gray from 2010, Pirates of the Caribbean from 2003, Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, Logan from 2017, Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049, uh, Terminator and Terminator 2, Alien and Aliens, uh, Mad Max Fury Road, Atomic Blonde, Happy Death Day, Jojo Rabbit, Glory, Lord of the Rings trilogy, obviously the extended editions, Dead Poets Society, Blazing Saddles, just a lot of things that they haven't seen, so you're gonna go have a nice night? Alright, have a good one, have fun. I will hopefully be back with either Soma or Phobia on Friday, but I will have to see at that point which one I want to set up. So I'm not restricted to a specific theme. No, I didn't see a reason to restrict it. The idea was that was the whole idea of like get cultured is like get a bunch of different aspects of the culture that have come through in the form of popular movies and films that sort of gained a cultural foothold. The plan being basically movies from the last 60 years, give or take, that I've seen a lot of, and they haven't. And then they're going to show me a lot of movies that I'm not familiar with. They showed me a couple of years ago a movie called Silent Voice, which is an anime that was very, very good. Uh, and I had not seen. They also showed me Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which was like the fifth Puss in Boots movie, and apparently most of them were not very good, but the fifth one was. So that's the idea. Is basically we all have things that we've picked up over time, and we want to get each other to react to them and discuss them. Began watching Shogun. Shogun is on the list. I would like to get to that. I have every intention of watching that. But that's the general idea. We're hopefully getting that together soon. Pretty good though. Yeah, that I've heard it's fantastic, so I'm looking forward to it. It's basically a way to, sort of catch up on. Oh, katanas. Yeah, okay, fair. Katanas are very cool. I'm more of a hand and a half sword kind of guy myself, but whatever works for you. You also like nunchucks? That's cool. Yeah. The funny thing is that, like, as far as steel went, katanas weren't anything special. It was the process that made katanas, like, very impressive, where they had to fold it over and over and over again. Um, and they didn't do that because it was fun. They did that because they were largely using iron sand to make their like any metal tools because there were basically no iron deposits or like you couldn't mine iron in Japan. So the, like sword folded over 1,000 times was effectively because their blacksmiths could not do it any other way. Whereas the Europeans had significantly better steel and significantly more straightforward processes just because they had access to all of the raw materials to make it in that same period. If you cut the wrong way, it won't slice. Yeah, that's also true. Uh, it was interesting, actually. There was a Native American tribe up near Michigan that they discovered had learned like how to use metallurgy. Because by and large, when Europeans came to America, the natives were using stone tools and weapons. But it was discovered that there was a native tribe who had figured out how metallurgy worked with copper. But because the copper they were using was too pure, it was too malleable to actually be useful. Uh, as it turns out, if you want good hardened copper, it actually needs to have some arsenic in it, and the copper that they had was too impure to actually be useful. So the amount of effort that they had to put in to making copper weapons just wasn't worth it, so they switched back to stone. But yeah, I mean, absolutely. As far as like the precision one needs to work with a katana is very impressive. Watching masters work against like bamboo targets and various other things is always very impressive. I I definitely think katanas are very cool conceptually, but I'm also aware that they were kind of a tool of last resort. Um, because yeah, sure, for one-on-one samurai duels, they would use katanas, but the idea was that you only got to those duels if someone had already lost a battle or was close to losing one. And during the battle, they were all using spears because they didn't like. You don't want to get close enough that a katana is reasonable. Like as far as modern warfare, the spear was their rifle, the katana was their pistol. Like if you desperately needed it, it might pull your ass out of a bind, but if you got to using it, it was not a good time. Now, the other reason that the katana worked, despite being made of like pretty poor steel, was because generally it was lords and their samurais using them against peasants who were not armored. So you didn't really need them to be that strong as far as the steel went. The idea of two samurais going at it and battling each other, very cool. The idea of samurais just being used as tools of enforcement for feudal lords, less fun. But I do definitely want to check out Shogun. I played a little bit of the most recent Assassin's Creed that was set in Edo period Japan with Oda Nobunaga as basically the antagonist for the story, which I thought was very cool because Nobunaga is often hailed more as a conqueror for uniting Japan, which he did, but it was through intense amounts of violence and taking over as a conquest. There was one thing that I appreciated about the game was that they did not forget the Portuguese influence and had like Portuguese merchants and a few Portuguese characters in Japan in the 1500s because that was historically accurate. Um, it has always been interesting to me that in the age of exploration, Britain won out and made, the empire that the sun never set on, but it could just as easily have been the Portuguese taking over the world. Wanted to show like Shogun, but on Chinese culture. So there is a show called Warrior that's in the US, but about Chinese immigrants, and sort of the culture that existed here on the West Coast in the 1800s. I definitely want to see more of that. I've seen little bits and pieces of it, but I don't know if I have an equivalent show like Shogun for Chinese culture for you. At least not in English. I'm sure there are several great shows in Chinese, and I don't know how I would find those. But yeah, Warriors on HBO in the US. I'm not sure what it would be on where you're at. Those fighting scenes. Oh yeah, yeah. That's most of what I've seen of it was some stuntmen breaking down the fight scenes, which were very impressive. Yeah, let me see if I can just link you this show itself, just so we're talking about the same thing. Yeah, it went I think 3 seasons. Yeah, 3 seasons. It started in 2019. There's a total of 30 episodes. Well, Shogun doesn't have a lot of fighting scenes because they're actually decent diplomats that they're telling the story about. Only 2 fight scenes up to the 5th episode. That sounds like the diplomats are doing their jobs. Ideally, the fighting scenes only happen when the diplomats fail. What's the point? To learn about a place and culture and history? I mean, I recognize that I'm a complete nerd for even saying it, but that would be the point for me. But yes, I also enjoy cool sword fight scenes. It's possible you should check out the works of Akira Kurosawa because he was the original like cool sword fight scenes guy making movies in Japan, and in fact, Star Wars was very heavily influenced by Kurosawa films. Damn diplomats, whatever it is. Fair enough. No, the thing that's very funny to me in any sort of historical show is when they introduce throwing knives, which were just historically speaking not really a thing. Like technically they existed and they're very cool in cinema, but by and large people didn't throw away perfectly good knives. They should solve more of their problems by fighting. Yes, you should definitely bring that up and also never be a diplomat for any reason. I don't fundamentally disagree with you, but yes, the whole thing as far as the fight scenes is like, ideally you want your characters to be able to win fights but not have to fight too often. But if you're going to limit the number of fight scenes, you just need to make the fight scenes very, very cool. It was like Game of Thrones back in the day. Like they had no problem showing violence, blood, gore, any of that, but it wasn't every scene or every sequence because they tended to spend a lot of time on the character work behind the scenes before things broke down into fighting, so that it was basically it was a storytelling tool so that the fights really meant something, because you had the stakes of who was fighting. So, as storytelling technique, having a limited number of fights can actually be a very good thing. Because I've also seen movies where they have like extended fight sequences, and I just don't give a shit about either of the sides that's involved. because they haven't set up who the characters are well enough. So Shogun only having two fight scenes, as long as the fight scenes are very cool, doesn't really detract from it for me. Up to the fifth episode, you said. Uh, and I think it's 8 episodes in the first season. Because I've looked at it, I just haven't watched it. But yeah, it's if you spend the time making the characters good and engaging, then you tend to get very impressive fight scenes because you care about both sides of the conflict. And so they can make you more engaged throughout the fight because you care about the stakes. Whereas if it's just a random fight, you're like, eh. They did kill a character who's a general or something. I mean, that sounds like a tactically advantageous decision. If you have to kill the enemy, taking out a general seems like the way to go. So there should be more fighting now. Yeah, okay. I mean, probably there will be a breakdown in leadership, so they might be fighting over power that the general left behind. They might be fighting over failure to organize the ranks. They might be fighting the enemy a bunch more because nobody's giving clear orders or making tactically advantageous decisions. Sounds to me like you're going to get your fighting. I think that's coming to you. But yeah, I look forward to seeing Shogun and a number of other shows. I just watched a couple of movies the other night. Quiet Place Day One, which I loved A Quiet Place, the movie when it came out. I enjoyed the second one, and then Day One was pretty good. And then I watched the second Accountant movie, which I don't know, it was fine. Neither of them I would say were high art, but I enjoyed them. I haven't looked lately at new TV series to watch because I'm mostly waiting to any of the ones that I haven't seen that I want to watch on the React channel once we get that up and going. So I don't know. You love The Quiet Place? Yes, A Quiet Place is so good. It's everything I love in a horror movie. Where like I don't do well with like haunting horror movies. Didn't enjoy Accountant 2. Yeah, it was alright. I love John Bernthal in everything he's in, but it was okay. Um, yeah, a Quiet Place was one of those that like I don't do well with haunting films because I don't feel that I have a solid idea of what's possible, and I think your brain is supposed to fear that and fill some of it in to make the monster inherently scarier because what your brain can come up with is theoretically scarier than anything the monster can actually do. But when I watch a movie like A Quiet Place, I'm like, this is really good. I'm engaged in the stakes because the creatures aren't impossible to outmaneuver. They just have a strength that is very hard to avoid, which is they hear incredibly well, and also they're bulletproof unless they're doing their active hearing thing. Um, Anytime I watch a horror movie, I always play the game of like, okay, how long would I survive in this scenario? And most times I'm like, I could make it like reasonably far. And A Quiet Place is one of the movies that I watched, and I went,
I would die instantly because they react to sound, and I have a cane that clicks every other step, and they can't be killed with bullets. And if there was an alien poking around in front of my house and like trying to break into my house, I would probably respond by shooting it, which is a loud noise which they respond to and kill. So I would last zero time in a quiet place. It would not go well for me. But I did love the movie, and I think Emily Blunt was fantastic in both the first and second. Uh, the young deaf woman who they have playing the daughter was great in the first and second. Uh, I mean, God, the fact that they had a baby in the first one, like even the giving birth in the bathtub sequence was incredible, and her like trying not to make noise. It was such a good movie because the tension is all built within the silence, knowing that any amount of sound is going to draw them in. Um, it really is fantastic work. But just having a character with concrete abilities as the antagonist, that is to say, like all of the aliens that are in the movies, to me makes the stakes higher because I know what it can do and what it will react to. And so simply by knowing, they are able to build a more effective tension. For you, it's the beginning of the invasion you have to go through where you have to figure out the hearing thing. Yeah, for sure. And that's what I thought also was such a great thing from the first one was like this family didn't survive because they were the best survivalists. They just happened to uh, have a deaf daughter, so they all knew how to speak with their hands and make no noise instead of having to talk out loud and communicate via sound. The rest is sound distortion. Yeah, yeah. But even like the idea that they had created paths of sand to walk on, so that their footsteps wouldn't give them away, was just very well thought out. So yes, A Quiet Place Day One or A Quiet Place Day One was like pretty good. But A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place Part Two are both great in my opinion. Yes, there is a game. It's on my wish list, but I have not purchased it. Because it was like even when it was on sale recently, it was still over $20. But yes, I have that on my list as a survival horror game to pick up, and I'm very interested to check it out. I would like to see how they did with that one because I'm a fan of that sort of genre, and the more money I can throw at A Quiet Place as a studio or as a franchise, I would like to do because there are a ton of movie horror movies out there that I just don't care about at all, and every time A Quiet Place puts something out, it's pretty good. So that alone, I feel the need to support. Yeah, that's where I'm looking at Soma or Phobia rather, for this Friday. So I'm hoping I can do a little more survival horror on the channel after Cry of Fear, which I enjoyed. But it's left me in sort of a survival horror mood, so I think I want to go ahead and put together a couple of those to stream back to back. But we'll see what it looks like overall. Yes, I did finish Cry of Fear on Monday night. I will upload the VOD either tonight or tomorrow. I'd intended to upload it earlier, but I had a ketamine treatment yesterday and a ketamine treatment today. And that stream broke. So partway through, OBS crashed. And so I need to take the time. Like, ordinarily, when I finish up a stream, I can go ahead and just, like, open my VODs channel, hit create on the video, and put it in, which is pretty simple. But unfortunately, because OBS crashed, it broke my recording, which means that I will have to take the recording I've got and then stitch it to the second part of the recording as soon as I got back online, which is not a super hard edit, but I just need to get it done, and then put it up either tonight or tomorrow. But to be perfectly honest, I'm fairly tired from, the half gram of ketamine that went through me earlier today. So I'm probably going to run this stream for another hour if I can, and then call it for the night. Because I am fun, I'm glad I'm here, but ooh, I am definitely feeling it. I finished Cry Fear. I got the good ending. Um, Apparently by giving the doctor the gun and letting him shoot me, and then one other thing that I did got me the good ending for the game. So I fought Dark Simon in a wheelchair and won. It was not. I think I died 2 or 3 times, but I got the final boss on the third or fourth attempt. So yeah, it was very good. I appreciate you recommending Cry of Fear because it was definitely a good experience, and I had not ever gotten around to checking it out. Oh, pardon me. So I am. Let's see. It was supposed to be trust or something like that. Yeah. So apparently, in Ivan was explaining this to me. Apparently, the gun is like if you show trust in the doctor and like deal with the pain of the process, it hurts you some, but then like overall, it's better for you. Which I understand the symbolism behind theoretically, though I will say personally that physical therapy messed me up even worse. So that I won't say it's 100%. Should see the mortuary assistant. I've seen some gameplay of it. I'm not enormously interested, but I have that on a like maybe list to check out later. As far as haunting stuff goes, I tend to lean more for the realistic and brutal than the haunting sort of sectors. And I recognize that there's overlap there, but there's also distinctly a speed that doesn't or isn't conducive to that anyway. Ooh. A maybe list? Yeah, no, I have a definitely list and an already completed list, so I started a maybe list for like if I run out of stuff, which I don't think is gonna happen. But I do have a number of things that I'm like, I could check this out. People have talked about it, but it's not super high on my list of interests, whereas my checkout list is pretty extensive. And despite being extensive, I know it's not done. There's definitely more stuff, and always there's more stuff coming out, so who knows? Ooh. Yeah, I definitely want to check out Soma, and I definitely want to check out Phobia, so it'll be basically down to what mood I'm in, which one I check out on Friday. But I'm definitely hoping that I can get both streams done. I think Soma should be 2 or 3 streams, and Phobia, I was looking at 4 or 5. So you ran out of games. Oh, not a problem for me. Especially having Game Pass, I have so many on hand that I can just play whenever. And for the record, I don't think you forgot all the games you've ever played. That is not necessarily helpful. Why is it always ironic? Um, God, for the record, for anybody listening to this down the line, I am well aware that I'm saying a lot. I am not entirely here. My brain is still recovering from the ketamine treatment I had today. So I am aware that I'm stumbling over my words a bit more than I usually do, and stumbling over my tongue in particular. But fortunately, it looks like we're good. ADHD. Well, yeah, ADHD plus a heavy dose of drugs. Between the two, I'm definitely bouncing around a little bit, topic wise. I have enough trouble keeping focus when I'm entirely sober. So this is probably not going to help. Um, that's a pretty good you got in chat there, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into some games this weekend, but I am very tired right now. Just sort of pushing through the haze. So we will see how the week progresses and what I decide. But for now, gotta refresh the stream. Holding on. All right, cool. I'll be a second here. Ooh. Okay. Uh. Ooh. You notice my attitude is changing. It's not so much an attitude adjustment as a consciousness adjustment. My level of consciousness is decreasing. So I am struggling to stay awake a little bit. My goal is to not fall asleep on stream, or to continue tripping over my words. But I am clearly only sober enough for one of those two things to happen, so we'll see. Fall asleep on stream. I think they frown on that. I think you're not supposed to do that, but yeah, I mean, I definitely could. It would not be the first time I fell asleep while on Discord anyway. The stream is just one step above that, I suppose. Yeah, it's not a. I think it's not a huge deal as far as falling asleep on stream. I know there are streamers that have done like subathons that specifically like stream their bed and them asleep as part of the stream for the whole period of time. And I don't understand how anyone does that. That impresses me because I am not capable of doing that. But definitely impressed that they can do most of their stuff on stream all within a pretty set area for the camera. So I can go ahead and cancel the stream. So I don't want to cancel it. I might cut it down to like an hour and a half. I want to push on and let me it's a just chatting stream, and the goal was Socratic. So I did want to see if there were any sort of news stories I wanted to look at. So far it's mostly my president being an asshole for basically no uh reason. Wait, I'm sorry. South Africa opens inquest after American hunter gored by Cape buffalo. That sounds like he just got too fucking close to the buffalo. That's not like a surprising thing. You don't mess with those things. Cape buffalo are regarded as the most dangerous animals to pursue in Africa, responsible for more hunter deaths and injuries annually than lions or crocodiles, and they often charge unprovoked. Translation: this guy fucked with nature and nature won. Uh, oh my god. A bird dropped a fish on power lines and sparked a brush fire in Canada. That's just impressive. Oh, sure. Can I share the screen? Let me desktop capture. I have infinity. Hold on. Okay. Dropped a fish on power line, sparked a brush fire in Canada. Uh, Man arrested for lighting cigarette from Paris tomb of the unknown soldier flame. Yeah, that's probably a little disrespectful. Let's see. What do we have under AP News? Cameroon's Constitutional Council bars main opposition candidate from presidential race. That does seem slightly biased. Voting Rights Act marks its 60th anniversary as its core provisions are being eroded. Yep. That's U.S. politics, but yep. Yeah, Voting Rights Act on life support amid right-wing attacks. No shit. Silent Zelensky says Russia seems more inclined to a ceasefire. Well, they have lost hundreds of thousands of men at this point, so. Of course, the seagull, yeah. Uh, Capitol Jewish Museum shooting suspect indicted on murder and hate crime charges and could face death penalty. You know, I oppose the death penalty, but the rest of it I'm pretty okay with happening. Uh, Former DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond enters Georgia governor's race. That seems bad, frankly. I generally don't want CEOs in politics. Uh, Dispute over major port contracts threatens Haiti's fragile political stability. Haiti does not have fragile political stability. They have open gang warfare. I would call it a civil war, but usually in a civil war you have two sides, and there's like 5 major factions going on in Haiti at the moment. Obviously, each with some sub-factions. Tropical storm Ivo forms in the eastern Pacific and could impact coastal Mexico. That seems like a thing to worry about closer to when it happens. Let's see. Offbeat. San Fernando police investigate after a woman freed from chimney. Sorry, what now? 6:45 p.m. LA Fire Department specialists responded to 208 North Park Avenue and rescued a woman from a chimney at the City of San Fernando Recreation Center. Responders dispatched, woman trapped in the chimney. Right, I got that. Using a rope and ladder system, they hoisted her out while she was conscious and alert. Airlifted to a nearby hospital in fair condition. Structure was not damaged during the rescue. Why? Woman was not affiliated with the City of San Fernando Recreation Center. Was this a drug thing? Was this what were you doing? Haiti's messed up. Yeah, there are a lot of factors contributing to that, but yeah, Haiti's having a bad time. Uh, Super disrespectful. WNBA players exasperated after sex toy thrown onto court for the second time in a week. I mean, yeah, that's incredibly disrespectful. Probably don't do that. Uh, Rose Byrne plays something in a new A24 film. That doesn't actually. I don't care. I'm not saying I don't care because it's an A24 film. That doesn't seem like news. It seems like an advertisement for a film that's coming out. Speeding motorist driving at 199 miles per hour on Germany's Autobahn is fined more than $1,000. For what? Uh, Over 124 miles above the speed limit. I thought the Autobahn didn't have one. I could be wrong, but I thought. Yeah, generally there's no speed limits on German Autobahns, however there are exceptions. One example is the A2 near Berg between Hanover and Berlin, where the speed limit's 120 kilometers per hour or 75 miles per hour. Okay. So he was in an area with a speed limit. because that is actually fairly unusual on the Autobahn. Oh, I talked about this, I think, before you got here with Ivan. Um, but yes, my president did, in fact, hold a press conference from the roof of the fucking White House yesterday. And it's not like he brought a bullhorn with him, so he was literally just yelling down from the roof of the White House at reporters. Uh, which, I mean, God, the guy's like pushing 80 and clearly showing signs of dementia. And that's barely the biggest problem. Oh, you're saying let's watch some cat videos? I'm okay. I try not to steal content from other creators. Um, and I am just stoned enough that that sounds funny, but I would prefer not to just watch like fail army videos for the next hour. That is the sort of content I try not to make. I try to make stuff that I at least contribute to in some way. Multiple escaped bison returned home safe and sound in King, Ontario. Denmark to axe Copenhagen's ugly and pornographic mermaid statue. Alright, hold on. I gotta know how ugly and pornographic, though. Am I gonna get banned from Twitch? Let's see. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going back to the regular thing before I look at this, and then I'll see if I'm okay. I That's not pornographic. It's a fucking mermaid. Hold on. Want to see the video of Donald Trump yelling from the roof? Hold on, I will find that. Uh, Let me see if I can. There we go. Is it funny? I mean, it's funny in the sense that he's just fucking yelling on the roof. No, that's him appearing on the roof. Speaks to reporters from the White House roof. And by speaks, it means fucking yells, because that's all he had. He didn't think to bring.
Financed by me, so. Are you going to build up I do. What does that mean? What do you? More ways to spend my money. Can you give us another thing? We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country. Consider your anything I do is financed by me, so
just yelling.
Contributed. Just like my salary is contributed.
Just an old man on the roof. And reporters going, what the fuck is going on, basically, for the entire time. That is apparently the extent of the questions that he was magnanimous enough to answer. Oh, that's the mermaid statue, by the way. not pornographic in any way, so I'm not as worried about that. It's maybe not against Twitch TOS though, so I will remove it, but it's a lot of things that what okay, yeah, whatever. He didn't know that the reporters would be there. No. He he was he called a press conference and decided to do it from the roof. Like there was no reason for him to be there. He decided to do this. Because if there's something that Donald Trump can do, it's gonna be done the stupidest and evilest way possible. Extra points for more stupid and more evil. I wish that the formula was harder to figure out than that, but it really seems to be the basis for it. Let's see. International news. Anything of interest? Trump could meet Putin over Ukraine as soon as next week. New tariffs aim to deter support for Russian economy. Yeah, I would have believed that if you weren't putting tariffs on literally everyone. Lula says Bolsonaro should face charges for inciting the U.S. against Brazil. Probably, among other things. Dude was bragging about death squads. Deadly artillery strike in Nikopol, 3 killed in Russian shelling. 1.5% of Gaza's agricultural land remains accessible and undamaged. That is fucked up. Diplomatic tensions, Russia-Ukraine in the quest for peace. There will be peace when Russia pulls out, apologizes, and pays reparations, and returns all the children that they stole. Let's see. Spain rules out buying the F-35, choosing between Eurofighter or FCAS. That's pretty reasonable, given where the U.S. is at the moment. Macron seeks to end visa exemptions for Algerian diplomats amid deportation row. Ukrainians trust in Zelensky dips after wartime protests. Interesting. So yeah, that's about. Oh, that's just Goofy, him being on the roof. Yeah, no, like why though? Like, it's one of those things that like, if he had never gone into politics, him walking around on the roof and yelling at reporters would just be funny. But because he's in control of nuclear launch codes, I have concerns. Anything about cartel stuff? Law. I double check. Uh, a few stories on it. Hold on. There we go. Prison riot in Mexico's Veracruz state leaves 7 dead and 11 injured. U.S. won't seek death penalty for Mexican drug lords Ismael El Mayo Zambada and Rafael something. Mexico deploys high-tech tools and pig proxies in cartel grave searches. Say U.S. cartels risk Scheinbaum Trump deal. I don't know who Scheinbaum is. Interesting. Is that the current Mexican president? Because I genuinely don't know. Uh, Vasquez leads bipartisan push to crack down on cartels, keep children and border communities safe. No part of France is free of drugs, anti-narcotic agency warns. Yeah, no shit. No part of anywhere is free of drugs. Humans have been trying to figure out how to put things in them that make them feel funny for basically ever. Mexico's Sinaloa flooded with troops as police lose ground to the cartels. Entire Mexican financial sector is in danger. So yeah, there's some stories about cartels, none of them good. Pakistan's deadly monsoon floods were worsened by global warming. Yeah, I could have guessed that one, thanks. Alright, was there anything else you in particular wanted to talk about, Nusrat? Because I have had a good time streaming this evening, but I am definitely getting close to the point that I'm going to wrap up. Because, as funny as it would be to just hear me snoring on stream, I prefer not to be that guy yet. It'll happen eventually, but I'm not, like, aiming to do it now. Ooh. Alright. I am, definitely feeling it. Okay, that being the case, I am going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here. I really appreciate both Ivan and Nusrat for coming through. Always wondered how countries ever get fixed. I mean, that's the real answer is long amounts of social work, usually by the populations of the country. Occasionally revolutions, but statistically revolutions don't work out the way that the conquerors want them to. Um, like even when the revolutions are won, a lot of people who are good at fighting revolutions are not good at building states. So the crossover in skills there is not always the same, and they often wind up repeating the mistakes of the people who came before them. Generally, the way that these things change is shifts in social status and pressure, changes in technology causing either people to go so far out of work that social change has to be implemented, or become so in demand that they get greater bargaining power. For instance, when the stream's lagging. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna just respond in chat. I was gonna wrap up anyway. Hope to see you on Friday. Jesus, a laptop's like on my stomach and I'm not. I'm like laying back in a chair. Could have something to do with why I'm passing out besides the drugs, but okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call the stream here. Uh, Thank you to both Yvonne and Nusrat for being here. Thank you to anybody watching the VOD in the future. Have a good day, night, evening, wherever you are. Stay safe. Hope to see you Friday. I'll be back playing either Soma or Phobia Sent Ginfna Hotel. And I look forward to getting to play some of that and chatting with people. So stay safe, have a good one, and goodbye. Night, Nusrat.